Hello, hello. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Definitely appreciate the loyal followers, digital friends, everyone on LinkedIn, on X, on YouTube who joining me when I talk with fascinating people in tech. And today is no exception. Today I'm extremely privileged because Christine Alemany is with me. Christine, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm doing fantastic because guess what? We said we're going to talk about AI and technology and navigating the future. That's a big topic, all right? And looks
Yeah.
like in all my talks, I cover it from different angles, all right? It could be healthcare, automation. We're all in this digital world trying to situate ourselves. And you are a CEO, a CMO, a board member, and just out there, involved with Columbia Business School, involved with the industry about AI in 2024, meaning that proliferation of tools and opportunities, and yet what do you think we should be aware of?
So I think it's important that you start testing, right? So whether it's Bard, ChatGPT, there's a ton of AI tools that you can use in marketing, from video to content creation. I don't think AI, or generative AI specifically, is going to replace people, at least initially. I think it's a good way to become more efficient. It's a good way, especially when you're writing or brainstorming. It's a good way to get a lot of information and simplify that information. So for writing, for example, I use it a lot for just as a starter, to give me lots of different ideas I can play with. And then it actually allows me to think outside of how I would normally think. So it gives me different ways to approach problems that I myself wouldn't normally think of. And you can think about that in terms of video, in terms of narration. There's lots of things around marketing that gives you kind of a different perspective than you would normally see.
Absolutely. And in the team setting, okay, I just
Mm-hmm.
want to dive deeper into, right, with all the productivity tools, right, and
Yeah.
lots of tools that teams are trying as we speak, all right. How do you choose the right strategy? Because you cannot be jumping from one tool to another, right? If you're leading the team, if you have businesses investing, certain budget into what you do. So
Yeah.
what kind of, the common sense approach here now? Because the landscape is pretty busy, don't you think?
Yeah, I think just start with one thing. Once you kind of master it, although I don't know if we're at mastering level yet, add on other layers. So, for example, you can start brainstorming different topics that you want to write, or for your business, for example, you can brainstorm different topics around AI. Then you can use your AI tools to start um, researching people and identifying interesting people that may be of interest to you. Um, the one thing about generative AI that I think is great is I can look up, what are the top 10 influencers in banking, for example, and it scours the internet for me, does all the research that I would look at, and gives me top 10 based on various um, algorithms that it has. Depending on the tool, it will be transparent to you or not. Hopefully it is. And then you can start fine tuning the results, right? So you can start asking questions, take things out. Um, then you can take that information and then toss it into the next phase of your research. So, how do you start putting together content? What are the different types of content I can do? How should I approach each influencer? So, I'm actually having my team do that right now around influencers. That's why I'm talking about influencers around a lot. Is we're identifying the top influencers that we would want to work with, and we're also identifying where their strengths are. So we have a number of different areas that we're focusing on strategically, and we're tapping into different influencer networks to attack those areas, using AI to help identify them, using AI to help identify the most trending topics in each of their areas, and then to go into content creation.
Can you maybe share some examples in your client work? If you don't have to name the companies, that's fine, but just kind of tangible, successful use cases where you worked on brand strategies, right? When you help businesses to grow, where AI examples, which we can share because we all live by, thriving, interesting, cases. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think, there's so many, everything that we do in marketing now is driven by technology, even from Photoshop, right? So even the images that we create, whether it's stock images, we customize them to make them look more bespoke. So there's lots of technology that goes around video, as you know, from editing to customization. You have your creative imagery. You have multiple tools that go into getting images and graphics to look right. Then in terms of pushing out the content that you want to go to grab audiences, you have multiple, whether it's social media, there's multiple tools that you can use to push out your content there. In terms of email, you have multiple automation tools, and then you even have automation tools that will take all of your different channels and combine all of the push into one tool. So you can have sequences, automated sequences that are triggered based on behavior, based on actions, based on segmentation. So everything that you do is in marketing now involves data and technology. There's nothing that you can do without either one or both.
Somehow, this is not surprising, right? We read about, some of us more experienced, right, hands-on, we see the impact immediately, right, on the customer insights and just seeing the audience, right, what audience is reacting to or not reacting, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this about the decision-making now, all right, because getting insights, in my mind, is easy, all right, with all the platforms and proliferation of tools. How are you as a CMO, CEO, right, in both roles sometimes, how do you make decisions based on which insights you take seriously, which one, because we cannot be taking actions on everything we see in the digital world, right? What's the kind of strategic thinking, out there?
So it depends on the size of your company, what tools you have access to. So you can go very basic and look at what I call vanity metrics, clicks, likes, shares. That's, if you don't have anything else, that's good to start off with. I think it's really easy to see how many shares you have, what's resonating out there. And then you can go a little bit further, right? So you can go into sales, revenue, and more transactional data. And that's where it gets more complicated, where you have attribution involved. And so that requires more advanced tools. So you could do anything from Google Analytics to more complicated measures, like, for example, intent. You can actually start digging into how many people are interacting with you. Are they interacting with their competitors or your competitors? And start identifying people early on in their research. So that's where SEO becomes important, and getting out the content that you want to attract them in, right? So with the shares and the likes, you are starting to understand what trends, what people are interested in. With the transactions, you're starting to see what makes them take an action. And then you start looking at intent that's in between those two, and you start thinking about how can I start influencing people before they're even in the buy decision. So then you start getting into behavioral psychology, and some really interesting areas where you can start influencing how people react and behave. And when I say influencing, I think of it in terms of education, and helping them make a better decision for themselves. Hopefully, whenever you're influencing people, you're doing so truthfully, honestly, authentically. That will ensure that they come back to you, right? So you can make one sale, and that's a win. But if you can't bring them back and you can't keep that relationship, it's all for naught. You're not going to have a successful business. So, it's just as important to attract people in, and you use the metrics to do that, from all the way from clicks, likes to sales, conversion, transactions, average sales price, and everything in between, from segmentation, where are they playing, to churn. And you start thinking about, are they coming back? Am I keeping them? And then customer lifetime value. Am I expanding my relationship with them? How long are they staying with me after I bring them in? So there's a number of different tools, dashboard metrics that you do, depending on where you are in the buyer's journey.
Where is this happy medium in a way that it takes effort, it takes deliberation, it takes budget, it takes expertise. So how companies, we are out there, hopefully on LinkedIn, people will be listening to us, how companies can really optimize their time investment, not even budget, their time investment into how much is enough, how much is more than you can bear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a good rule of thumb is percent of revenue, right? So depending on your industry, on the low end for B2B, it would be roughly 3%. On the high end, you can get as much as 40% marketing budget to revenue. And then it's a matter of looking at your customer acquisition cost. Your goal is to decrease your customer acquisition cost, but once you get to a certain size, it's going to start increasing again, because once you get all the low-hanging fruit, you're going to start seeing that your customer acquisition cost is going to start rising again. That's okay. You have to know to understand it, and be able to receive it. But whenever you're thinking about, where is the happy medium, it's, am I setting a strategy that will allow me to be profitable? Right. So, at what date are you setting to become profitable? How many customers do you need till you can start either raising your price or start charging for your services? And then how am I growing my customer base? Am I using word of mouth? Am I using my customers to help me grow my customer base, right? Because the best way that you can increase your customer base and build credibility quickly is through your existing customers. So if you're going to have a marketing strategy, a large part of that strategy should be around putting your customers forward, right? Making them involved in your marketing, either, simple case studies, testimonials, even having social media contests where they, do unboxing. There's lots of stuff that you can do to get your customers involved. And that's the best way that you can grow your business. But yeah, it takes a lot of experience. It does take time. It does take budget. And if it didn't, everybody would have their own business and everybody would be a multi-billion-dollar company. I think that's one of the, once you get your product market fit, marketing is the one thing that can keep you growing over for long term. And that's why companies like, the Coca-Colas of the world continue to invest heavily in their marketing.
Of course, we know the like, big brand marketing is completely different animal comparing to up and coming and startup marketing, right? And it's
Yeah.
important, to know who you are, right, and what exactly
Yes.
you're trying to achieve in the given circumstances, all right? Because
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of marketing burned out, okay, in my experience, meaning that
Yeah.
when you don't get the results, okay, when you're doing things which are not, right. Any examples or pitfalls to avoid there?
Well, I think whenever you're thinking about marketing and looking at marketing, you have to take a test approach, right? You test small, you see if it works, then you invest more. And you don't just continue doing something because it worked in the past, because marketing tactics can become less efficient and effective over time. So you're constantly having to try new things, test new things, change and evolve so that your message is always fresh, your tactics are fresh, you're meeting your customers where they're at, and you're working with them in using different formats, because people ingest information differently. Some people are more audio, some people are more visual. So being able to get them in writing, in video, in audio, and allowing them to consume your message, your content in different formats, different lengths of formats, short form, everything from an infographic to a white paper, a snippet to a long form video and a long form conversation. Having that variety of content and variety of formats and lengths allows you to meet all different kinds of customers depending on how they ingest information, right? It's not a one size fit all kind of activity. You have to make it variable. You have to add on. You have to layer on. And once things stop working, you have to stop doing that thing. So you have to, have a testing mindset and be open to failure and be open to success and constantly be looking at your metrics. If you're not looking at your metrics regularly, depending on what kind of business you are, sometimes it would be daily, sometimes hourly, sometimes it's weekly. But you have to constantly be looking at your metrics to understand what's working and what's not. And you have to understand what those metrics are saying, right, as well.
You mentioned trust, so with personalization, and at least what I'm seeing is that even B2B is not actually truly B2B anymore. It's very personalized B2B, don't you think? So how do you maintain that B2B efficiency, right? Bringing value and at the same time, right, earning trust and keeping the level of trust? Where is this again, right? Happy medium.
Yeah, so, first you have to be authentic, right? So you can't be everything to everyone, just like a human being. A business can't be everything to everyone. You have to kind of know where your lane is and stay in that lane. And if you have to evolve, you have to pivot. You have to do so in a way that is true to the brand you've created. You can't pivot too quickly. In terms of your brand and your persona, because then people don't know what's real and what's not. And once they start doubting you, then it makes the sale even harder. So you have to be consistent. And that is what builds credibility, right? So being consistent, being accurate, telling the truth, knowing when to best put your best foot forward, but at the same time, not to spin too much, right? So we all know whenever we hear something that, is overinflated, that, people don't buy. And if you're saying those same things over and over again and people find one thing not to be true, one thing to be a little bit crossing the line, they're not going to believe anything you say. So it's always important to always be truthful, honest, authentic, credible, and then to listen, to understand what your feedback is, and then follow through, right? Follow through on everything you say you're going to do. Follow through on whether it's, a roadmap, a product roadmap, to a charity that you're going to be giving to ESG. It's always important to follow through, to communicate your follow through. And if you don't do that, if you don't follow through, communicate that as well. So, transparency is important. And in today's age, with digital footprints, digital tracks, and with AI, people are going to be able to do more research on you. That research is going to be faster. It's going to be deeper. And they're going to be able to find inconsistencies in what you say and what you do. And once they find that inconsistency, they're going to look elsewhere. So you have to be very careful whenever you push your message out there, especially in today's digital world.
You mentioned research a few times and how much AI is helping. Yes, absolutely. And what used to be years, months, and days, really, at our fingertips in a matter of minutes, all right?
Yeah.
So are we ready for this, Christine? Meaning that, how do you think we're adjusting as professionals, and the industry is even adjusting to the abundance of tools, abundance of opportunities, but at the same time, exactly, some industry are more conservative. They're just not ready for, to believe it, AI suggestion, or even, work with the tool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you're working with. I work with everybody from clients in fintechs, clients in banking. Both very different tolerance for new technology, bleeding edge versus very conservative. I think in terms of marketing, if you're not taking advantage of these tools to become more efficient, more effective, your competitors are. So I don't think it matters. I think as long as you test them, you start using them, one of your competitors, somebody in your competition is going to be, and you need to at least keep up with them, if not step ahead of them, right? So that's the goal, and that's what adopting new technology does. People who test and test often, and are willing to fail, often find that new thing, right? So, you try 5 or 6 different things, one of them is going to work. So if you're not trying 5 or different things, your competition who is doing that, they're going to find that next thing, and you're going to be catching up. So I don't think it's a option to sit on the sidelines. I think regardless of where you are, whether it's a conservative industry or a bleeding edge industry, you have to be testing out new ways of working, and new ways of ideating and innovating, especially in marketing. You can't stand still in marketing. Imagine if people were doing billboards, still, people are still doing billboards today, but if that's all you did, you'd be left behind.
Well,
yeah.
What's a good way to learn about new market trends?
You can always check out like MarTech, different MarTech publications. One of the things that I like to do is take sales calls. So when somebody reaches out to me trying to sell me a tool on, AI, whatever it is, I usually take the call. I'll usually try to at least make time, maybe 15 minutes, to learn about what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, if they have clients, how their clients are benefiting from them, and then try to meet with their clients, right? And so that's the way that I can learn about new things, and start to try to dabble in it, right? So see a demo. Maybe I can do a pilot, spend a lot of time doing that. And I think that's what allows me to stay ahead. So I think it's, approach it with a level of curiosity. I like to always keep my mind moving. I think of my mind like a muscle. And if I'm not using it, then I'm doing a disservice to myself. And so, when people come to me with new ideas, especially, you meet an entrepreneur or a fresh startup, they're focusing on a small idea that they spend all their time working on. Why not take all of that effort that they're putting in and learn a little bit from it? And test things, learn new things. I mean, that's what life is all about, right? If we just sat in a chair and did the same thing every day, how boring would that be? So, explore, be curious, try new things. And that's the way, you can grow as a person and grow as a marketer, grow in any field. I think that's really important.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. Thank you for talking with me today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.